everyone, I'm back. Got some sleep, did my hair, actually gave a fuck a little bit today, so, still no makeup, obviously, but whatever, I look a little bit better than I did this morning, that's for sure. Hopefully I can be a little more coherent, since I know it was kind of like rambling in the introduction video, but whatever, it's fine. I think I'm gonna try and not cuss as much, just to be, a little more PG friendly, I guess, but if it just kind of, slips out, my bad. But, I told my husband about what I plan on doing, and he watched the first video, and he seemed to be pretty, supportive, which, like I said, he's always supportive with anything I do, unless it's really stupid, then he'll tell me, you need to sit the fuck down and rethink what you're about to try and do, which is understandable. He's the one that keeps me grounded, because I'm the hothead of the relationship, so, yeah, which is, you think that would be, the polar opposite of someone who's, always quiet and doesn't really talk to a lot of people unless they know them extensively. But, anyway, this video is going to just be talking about kind of, the seeds, I guess you could call it, that were planted to me being born, kind of explaining just a little bit how I think my parents, not so much my mom, but mostly my dad became a narcissist, and kind of, how my mom kind of was set up to be someone who would be vulnerable enough to, fall for the narcissistic type of person, and not really understand, that the relationship she was in was a sham, and it was a very loveless relationship, and, it's I can't not feel bad for my mom to a certain extent. I feel like a lot of the cards were stacked against her, in a sense, but it also doesn't excuse the way that she treated me or my sister growing up. I understand people go through stuff in life, and people need counseling and therapy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see a problem with it. A lot of people need therapy, and they have better lives because of it. And my mom just didn't want therapy for several reasons, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we'll just start with my bullshit father, because like I said in the first video, I was a mama's girl. I love my mom. I've always hated my dad, and after cutting contact and doing, some self-discovery, kind of reliving some clues that I got throughout my childhood about how I was born and why I was born, I'll just come out and say it, that I was an accident. My parents tried to deny it, but there's so much shit stacked against them that there's just no way. So, before we get to where my parents meet, my dad, he was put up for adoption by his biological mother. When he, I think right after he was born, he was put up for adoption. My biological grandmother, according to him, was a 14-year-old prostitute whore, was his exact words. So I don't know anything about my biological family. It's still weird to think about, because, we were never allowed to talk about it growing up. My dad would, threaten to just, destroy things if we ever brought it up that he was adopted. So, I have a lot of questions right now. I don't know what my health history is, which is most important to me, because I don't really necessarily need to know who my family is on my dad's side, but it'd be nice to know if, I don't know if I'm allergic to certain things, that would be nice. But anyway, he was adopted pretty quickly. This was in the early 70s. To we'll call them my Nana and Grandpa, even though, I'm not related to them by blood. We don't share any DNA, which is still trippy. I'm still trying to get over that. But, well, my Nana and Grandpa, we'll call them that for now, because, my Nana passed away before I think the narcissism could come out, and my grandpa, was an asshole to me right before he passed away, but that'll be another video. So my grandparents adopted my dad, and they had 3 kids total. My dad was the middle child, so of course that fucking stigma of, you know, middle child syndrome where they don't get attention, blah, blah, blah. He played that all the time on people. Basically, trying to kind of give the family dynamic, it was my dad was in the middle. My oldest aunt, who we'll call crazy aunt. I want to call her so much more, but we'll call her crazy just to be, you know, follow me here. Crazy aunt was the oldest. She was also adopted. It wasn't the same woman that had my dad. It was a different person. And then my younger aunt, who is, we'll call her snobby aunt, was the youngest, and she was the only biological child that my grandparents had. So, I mean, good on my grandparents for adopting and, you know, raising kids that weren't biologically theirs, but fuck if they didn't, like, you know, ruin them so early on in life, because all 3 of them are horrible people. I don't fuck with any of my dad's side of the family after I cut ties, and it's a whole story, like I said. So, basically, my Nana, like, gave my dad anything he wanted, like, paid for traffic tickets, bailed my dad out of jail, and all this other bullshit, and, he wanted to go into college to become a priest, which, you know, whatever, because, I was raised in a very Catholic home. It wasn't super, super strict, but we went to church constantly. I went to Catholic school up until 6th grade, so my dad's side of the family was very, very, very Catholic. Like, my parents were kind of like the laxed version of my grandparents. So that made sense for them, that he would want to become a priest because he'd been in the church all his life, and, you know. So he went to college, and he developed a drinking problem, became a full-blown alcoholic. And I'm still not sure to this day whether or not he actually graduated college. I don't know. I don't care, but I'm not going to question it. So we'll just say that he did. And came back to my hometown after college was over, and didn't become a priest. I know he was working in the church, but, like, wasn't a priest yet. So fuck if I know. And he met my mom. So we'll pause it right there on how he met my mom. So my mom was also kind of like the middle child. My mom's slightly different. My Mima and Grandpa, which is my mom's parents, I love my mom's side of the family because they never treated me like shit like my dad's side of the family did. Like, they actually treated me like a child. They treated me like a human being. They treated me like an equal. So I have nothing but love for my grandpa's side of the family. Unfortunately, we don't really have much of a relationship because of a whole bunch of shit that happened. And I'm glad that, I came to realize when I was inviting family to the wedding for my husband and I didn't know how people on my mom's side would react of, like, not only am I coming out of the woodwork to invite them to a wedding, even though I haven't seen them in, I think, almost a decade now, I told them not to tell my mom or my dad about it because they were not invited. And all of them were like, oh no, that's fine, we don't care, and, like, they were super chill about it. And it just kind of reaffirmed, like, yeah, I knew I fucking liked that side of the family so much more for a reason, because they were human beings. They weren't these monster people that got pleasure out of making fun of children. But anyway, back to my mom. She was kind of the middle child, I say, because my Mima and Grandpa had, like, I want to say 7 or 8 children, but only 4 of them, like, made it to adulthood. I want to say it's either 2 or 3, like, don't quote me on that, but 2 or 3 of it was my mom, my uncle, and I think one of my aunts, had twins, because my grandma was really prone to having twins. The other twin passed, so my mom, my uncle, and one of my aunts should have a twin, but they don't. And then I had another uncle who was killed when he ran out into the street and was hit by a semi in front of my grandma and grandpa's house. And it's something that I never bring up. Like, I have questions about my uncle, but you will never catch me dead asking my grandpa, because he's gone through a lot of shit, especially recently. And again, like, you're just going to hear everything. That's just this is what this diary is going to be, is me just telling my story. So I'm never going to ask him about it, but I can pretty much say that, like, it crushed my grandparents for quite a number of years, and then there was just more death that happened throughout my childhood, and it was terrible. So what ended up happening was my mom was actually, like, on track. Like, she had a college degree, she had her own house at, like, 23, I think she said. Like, she was making her own money, like, she was doing fine. She just really didn't have a great relationship with my aunts or my uncle. And she has 2 sisters, so I have 2 aunts and an uncle, so 4 total. I've never gotten to associate with my uncle on that side of the family because he really was into drugs, and as a kid, I didn't really understand the severity of that. Like, I never really, like, connected the dots of, oh my god, like, I have a family member who's really into drugs, like, really into drugs. So I never messed with him, but my other 2 aunts, I never really had a problem with. I loved my cousins when I got to be around them. It was nice to not have to be the oldest child, because on my dad's side, I was the oldest, and it was just me and my sister for years, like, almost a decade and a half before another kid showed up. But, recently I had found out, I don't know if it's true, because I found this out at the very tail end before I cut contact with my mom, and things were just building up at that point. I was just telling her that it upset me that she always just takes pills for everything now, and she doesn't necessarily need to. She just does it because she can't cope with anything anymore. And she told me that she takes the pill so much because she can't deal with the fact that she had been molested as a child by a neighborhood kid. And I don't want to come off as insensitive, but it's like, I don't know if I can believe it, because she's lied to me so much my entire life, and, like, embellished a lot of things that happen in our lives. So it's like, is she telling the truth? Is she lying? Did she just say it because she wanted me to stop screaming at her? Because, like, I just went the fuck off on her, and I was yelling because I was so angry. So, a part of me, like, doesn't want to believe it because I don't know if it's true, but then a part of me is like, it would make sense. It would make sense of why she, like, a piece of her was taken, so she thought, because back in the day, you wanted to be celibate and seen as a virgin before you got married, especially in the Catholic community. So maybe she just felt like she wasn't good enough anymore, and she just was going to take whoever would have her. And if that's the case, that's really, heartbreaking, because she lost her I don't know, like, she lost her chance, I guess, to have a normal life, and I feel bad about that, if that's the case. Like, I hope she's not lying to me, but I also hope it didn't happen, so it's kind of like I'm just stuck between a rock and a hard place on how to feel about that situation. But, anyway, my mom was doing okay. She graduated college, like I said. They both started working at this is so funny to me, they were working at a psych ward in my hometown, and they had met. And keep in mind, all the stuff that I know, I was told when I was a kid, so I really couldn't process all of the information that I had. But now that I'm an adult, I have put a lot of the puzzle pieces together, and it's really shitty of what I've put together, of what, like, straight facts that I've been told, because now they're going to deny it because I'm an adult and can put it together and be like, well, you told me this, and they're like, oh no, you misheard me, or I'm bold-faced lying, according to them, So what ended up happening was, like I said, my dad was very, very Catholic, and my mom came from a Catholic family, but my grandparents were very chill about it. They were like, we're going to go to church, on Sundays, and we're going to make sure we are, we go to confession Easter Sunday, very lax with it. Sorry. So they were both Catholic, so celibacy was supposed to be a big thing. From what I remember my mom telling me that they never dated, like, they just kind of, like, hung out, and then he proposed. Well, when I got older, I put it together that that's not what she meant. When I did more, thinking about everything she's ever told me, what ended up happening is I'm pretty sure they were just fuck buddies. Like, she flat out said they never dated, and they weren't in a relationship. So to me, that means fuck buddies, because how, what else could have happened, honestly? So, they'd worked together for a while, and then, I think I think that they found out my mom was pregnant. Like, all I can hear in my head is my dad telling me, like, the way he knew is my mom's ass got really big, and he questioned my Nana of whether or not she thought my mom was pregnant. So, essentially, I was an accident. Like, you know, Catholics, we're not supposed to use protection, you know, because go forth and multiply. But, you know, I've definitely walked away from the Catholic practices. Like, I still identify my religion as Catholic, but I'm very open about a lot of things, so I wouldn't be considered a Catholic at all. I was baptized, you know, First Communion, confirmation, everything in between. I'm sorry, like, my throat keeps getting so dry, it's terrible. Anyway, so what ended up happening was, this is how I found this out. My mom always kept her really nice jewelry in her underwear drawer, and I think I was going to, like, a school concert or something, and you know how, you know, I don't know if people do it now, but I know back in the day, especially for church things going on, my mom would let my sister and I wear, like, some of her nice jewelry, just to, you know, be like, oh, here's my, like, my bracelet that my mom let me wear, and, you know. And I went in there, and I started to understand what marriage licenses were, I guess, in a sense. And I went in there, and I looked for the jewelry, and I found two marriage licenses in her underwear drawer, and I was like, what the hell? You know, like, as a kid, I didn't really understand, but I was like, why are there two? And they had 2 different dates. Well, I won't go by exact. Okay. Let me try to, like, I'm going to use fake dates just for safety. So let's say that I was born in 1969, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let me try. February 1969. We'll just say it's when I was born, okay? One marriage license said May of 1968, and then the other one said January of 1969. Okay, follow me here. So, when I questioned my mom, she was like, oh, well, we just wanted to get married, so the one of them is fake and one of them is from a real wedding, which they have, like, pictures and everything that my family attended and everything. But her logic made no sense either way she tried to splice it. Because if the fake one was the one in May, the year before I was born, why did they need the real one in January? And then when you flip it, if the real one was in May of 68, the fake one would almost make sense in January of 69 because I was born in February of 69, but my mom is not at all pregnant in any of the wedding pictures, or if she is, like, they hid it and everyone's lying, right? So, I don't know if anyone else wants to try to dissect that and see where I'm wrong and maybe where it makes sense, but to me it makes no fucking sense. So, I still don't know the exact reason why they have 2 different marriage licenses. I've tried thinking about it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But essentially, with all that information, I've just decided that, well, not decided, it's fact. I was an accident, and my mom had to marry my dad because, you know, societal expectations of having to marry your baby daddy back then, instead of just being like, hey, I don't know about this, maybe we shouldn't. So, I was born, and a lot of the pictures, I might show them down the road, I don't know, of my dad in particular, like, holding me when I was an infant. None of them, he's not smiling in any of them. Like, he couldn't have given a shit less. And let me throw this in here. When my parents got married and had me, my dad was 22, and my mom was 27. So, my mom was kind of at the age where, you know, having kids would probably be alright if you were financially secure. But there's, like, I couldn't imagine having a kid at 22. Like, I can't even imagine having a kid now. And it's just, no, I couldn't imagine it. So, like, every year since I've turned 22, I'll be like, can you believe I'd have a child that's this many years old by now if I was my dad? Like, it's fucking trippy. I couldn't imagine having, like, a 4 or 5 year old right now. It would fuck me up. So, yeah, I was born. My dad wasn't happy about it. I think there was a lot of resentment. I don't want to say my mom would ever have aborted me, because the Catholic church that I went to was very, very, very vocal about abortion and how, it's a sin against nature. No matter what the circumstances, like, the baby has to be born rape, or it didn't matter how the baby came to be, like, you were stuck with it, essentially. Not stuck with it, but, like, it didn't matter what the circumstance was, you were fucked, essentially. So, I don't know if she ever considered it, or if my dad, like, tried to force her or anything. I don't know. But I was born. So, we cut to maybe a year or two after I'm born, and the first incident that I recall is I was at my Mima and Grandpa's house, which is my mom's parents, and they had, like, a little pond in the back of their house. And what ended up happening is I was kind of like, kids have heavy, like, they're top heavy for a while until their necks really start to get thick and strong. I was looking at the pond, and I fell into the pond. And I was in the pond for so long, and I promise this is no lie. I was in the pond for so long, I blacked out. And I don't remember anything, like, it just feels like I was blacked out for quite a while, because I remember waking up in the bathtub with my Mima, like, giving me a bath, and, like, I swear that's all I remember is being in the bathtub with, like, a Big Bird shampoo bottle just, like, staring at me with, like, the giant heads they used to make. I don't know if they make them now or anymore. So, like, that's one of the first things I remember of just, like, it's odd, like, I should have been, like, I imagine, a normal parent, I would have remembered falling into the pond, but then being juked right out by my mom or my dad, but I don't remember anything. I just remember going in the water, and then blacking out after a certain point, and then waking back up in the tub, and it's like, I don't want to talk bad about my Mima, I love my Mima, but it's like, was she bathing me because she was waking me up? Because I don't remember if the water was hot or cold, to be honest with you. And maybe I just wouldn't wake up, so they tried to wake me up with cold water or something. But I'm not going to really speculate on that. I didn't die, so it's just more of an example of, like, how early on, so, like, 1 or 2 years old, I remember already, like, there was something wrong. So yeah, my parents were forced to get married because my mom got knocked up because they weren't doing what they were supposed to and wait if they wanted to get married. I'm going to stop recording for this part because this is mostly about my parents are done, like, kind of giving my background. As my dad was spoiled, got whatever he wanted, thought that he was above everyone, and basically wanted to be a priest, because he wanted to be like the next Jim Jones. Like, I'm not even kidding. You can ask my friends and my husband and my sister that he, like, if he had a tenth of charisma that Jim Jones had, he would be Jim Jones right now. Like, we would see him on the news being a crazy motherfucker, I promise you. And then my mom, like, I think all she wanted was a man to love her and have a family, and I think she just had such shitty self-esteem that she didn't think anyone would want her or love her, and she just went for the first guy that, like, knocked her up, so she was stuck. So that's about it. I'm gonna just cut the camera off and cut it back on and kind of get into my early life. So I'll see you in a minute. Bye.